Comes to college basketball, Kansas is the place to be. No other state can boast of having not just one, not just two, but three Division I schools making a run in March Madness.
Tonight, we take a look at the Shocks, the Hawks, and the Cats in the Cake News Road to the Championship special. Thanks so much for joining us. It's an exciting time to be a basketball fan in Kansas. By this time tomorrow, Wichita State, K-State, and KU should all be on the court.
That's right. Tonight, Cake News is taking a closer look at where each team has been this year and what they need to do to remain on the road to the championship. We started off with Cake Sports' Chase Shannon. He's live in Indianapolis, where the Shockers will play tomorrow. Chase?
Yeah, all eyes here on Indy tomorrow night as the Shockers and Dayton Flyers will square off in prime time. Of course, these Shockers have had a remarkable season. 30 wins for the fourth time in the last 5 years. That's, by the way, a Division I record, but it hasn't been all smooth sailing to get to this point. It was the dawning of a new era of Wichita State basketball. Gone, the legends of yesteryear. What would this team be? Is this a rebuilding year? No one knew, except for maybe one.
This team has a chance to be pretty good. We have a chance to be pretty good.
Another hot start, thrashing opponent after opponent.
There's still small things that we're going to have to continue to get better at, and I believe that, honestly, I told the team, I think they're not, we don't have to grow, we don't have to get stronger. There's simple things that we can become very, very good at with just a little more diligence.
And that's the final score, Louisville 60.
But then there were the stumbling blocks.
It's not a cartoon like the Michael Jordan Bugs Bunny movie where the Monstars took their talent, but it almost looked like that.
2 losses in the Bahamas to Louisville and Michigan State. Then a beatdown at Intrust less than a month later to Oklahoma State. The question marks return.
But even if you're not making shots, you can still play hard. You can still defend. You can still get back in transition.
Enter a new year. 2017, the Valley race was on. Shockers once again taking down conference opponents, but then a Saturday night in Normal once again made things interesting. A loss to Illinois State set up a wild backstretch, but the Shockers took care of business time and time again, including in a 40-plus point blowout of the Redbirds at Koch Arena.
But by and large, we've had a number of guys this particular season, and it makes sense because of the youth and inexperience we had going into the season, that have gotten markedly better from the time the season started to how they're playing now.
Yes, indeed. Landry Shamet and Marcus McDuffie, first team all-conference. Connor Frankamp and Shaq Morris, dazzling. A 4th straight Valley regular season conference title, then the icing on the cake. Tournament championship, first time in 3 years, ensuring them a spot in a 6th straight Big Dance. Hey-oh, here we go. This road has led us right here to Indianapolis, of course, where they're going to square off with the Dayton Flyers tomorrow. The Shockers getting in as a 10 seed. Dayton, of course, the 7, and both teams off the practice court for today. And WSU, believe it or not, has never played here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, but they are 35-31 all-time in the Hoosier State. They'd also have a closed practice earlier today at the famous Hinkle Fieldhouse where the Butler Bulldogs play. Loose wouldn't be a loose way of putting it, though, for these Shockers, as they looked relaxed and focused earlier as they head into tomorrow's contest. And even though they may be the lower seed, they're still actually favored and still feel like they've got a lot to prove.
Just more, We're playing a lot of tougher teams. Every game is going to be tough, High major teams, high opponents, great players. You're going to see a lot of guys that's probably going to be in the NBA next year, and it's just amazing to play against these guys and show the world what we can do.
Play to our strengths, We got a 3-head monster inside, and our guards, just feed off each other and just let's, enjoy the game, not try to make it too big a moment for one person, and just everybody enjoy the game and keep playing how you've been playing lately.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about the Flyers now. This is their 4th straight tournament appearance, and despite being unranked and not winning the A10 tournament, they're still the higher seed. They've also lost 2 straight games heading into this game, but they do have wins over tournament teams Rhode Island, Vanderbilt, and VCU. Archie Miller, who is also one of the hottest names in coaching, said he uses WSU as a sort of blueprint for his program.
They kind of motivated you. I mean, they motivated you to say to yourself, like, wow, you know, if those guys can be that tough, if they can play that hard, if they can have that type of culture, it's something that you have to really rely on and say, if we could create something like that, you know, maybe we could get there.
Let's dive into this matchup now. Here's how the two teams stack up. Wichita State is 2nd in the nation in scoring margin. Not bad, right? They're 4th in three-point percentage. Their rebounding margin, 5th in the country, just like their field goal percentage defense. This is also by far the best offensive team Greg Marshall has ever had. But keep in mind, Kim Pomeroy has Dayton's strength of schedule at 85th overall and WSU's 126th. The Flyers are still, though, averaging 76.5 points per game. Now, these two storied programs have only met twice in history. The last time all the way back in 1962. Also in that year, Dave Stallworth played for the Wichita State Shockers. Today, Stallworth passed away at age 75. He is considered by many the greatest Shocker. He's 3rd all-time in career scoring. He's also in the rafters, the first player to get his jersey retired at Wichita State. And Coach Greg Marshall knows just how much he means to this team.
I met him when I came. He used to attend our games regularly until his health started failing. A wonderful gentleman, a true supporter of our program, really cared about the success of our program and cared about Wichita. And, you know, we play this tournament with heavy hearts because he was one of the, if not the greatest performer to ever wear the black and yellow.
And we spoke with fellow Shocker great Antoine Carr earlier today, and he says he's crushed by the loss. He considers Stallworth to be a mentor for him and the main reason that he went to WSU in the first place. If he could address this year's WSU team, he would tell them to play angry for Dave and to just win for Dave. Now, Stallworth's name does hang up in those rafters, just like Carr's, and someday Landry Shamet may hope to have his up there too, as he joins 3 others whose names are already up in the rafters, whose jerseys are already up in the rafters, as earning all conference honors for the first time in their freshman year. The other 3, of course, Cleo Littleton and a couple others, but Landry Shamet with a great road to this point after suffering some setbacks along the way. Things were coming together quickly for the youngster out of Kansas City. Landry Shamet, the highest-rated recruit in Greg Marshall's WSU career, scoring 13 points in his debut. He even started in a game for an injured legend, but that hot start quickly came to a halt.
Yeah, it sucked. I haven't been through anything like that. I've been through adversity, but nothing where, you know, I'm physically incapable of playing basketball.
A stress fracture, 3 games in, derailing Shamet's true freshman season. Instead of helping the Shockers roll to another NCAA tournament run, he had to watch from the sidelines. A blessing in disguise, though, when 2 guys he was constantly watching are now in the NBA.
They were so consistent with, you know, not only just their play from game to game, but, you know, their leadership, their work ethic, how they handle themselves in practice, off the court, all that stuff. So they were 2 great role models, even though I wasn't playing alongside with them, and they continue to be good teammates as well.
Shamet has handled himself remarkably in his redshirt freshman season. It's most evident in his assist-to-turnover ratio, which is 2nd among freshmen in the nation. The plays he makes are far from easy. The way he makes it look that way is what makes him so special. It's historic what Shamet has accomplished this year, landing on the Valley's first team. He joins only 3 other Shockers with all Valley nods as freshmen, all of whom's numbers are hanging in the Koch Arena rafters somewhere in 11 may someday be.
You know, if it happens, it happens. If not, then as long as I gave everything I had and worked as hard as I could to get better and better every day, every year, every game, then, you know, I can live with myself.
Things are now coming together quickly for this group of youngsters out of Wichita, including, of course, that redshirt freshman from Kansas City. The Valley's Freshman of the Year, Landry Shamet, ready this tournament time to not just watch, but to be a part of yet another chapter of Shocker basketball history.
And the crazy thing is we're still getting better. There's still things that, you know, we're not doing that we can do that'll make us that much better of a team. So,
Jake Sports coverage of Arch Madness.
Yeah, pretty incredible what Shamet's accomplished, and Shamet's also the highest rated recruit in Greg Marshall's tenure, something that Shane Ewing knows a lot about.
Yeah, and in the NCAA tournament, Chase, how about this? This is going to be Greg Marshall's 23rd NCAA tournament game that he coaches in tomorrow, and you can see it in his stride, right?
Oh, yeah, great mood from Marshall today. You can tell that what is this, the 17th, something incredible. He took Winthrop to several as well, 13th, right. I think, and that it's just still the same as the first time.
Right. So, again, Marshall is still the apple of any team with a coaching vacancy's eye, right? There's always going to be that talk about how hot he is, but he's loved nowhere more than he is in Wichita, Kansas. So let's take a look right back at how Greg Marshall became a Shocker.
By this time, I have resigned as the head basketball coach at the University of Wichita.
As far back as the memory goes, Shocker coaches have come, made their mark, and gone.
Texas A&M will be holding a press conference at 3 p.m. this afternoon to announce Mark Turgeon as their new head basketball coach.
When they arrived, their Shocker legacy was untold, and in Wichita, their names largely unknown.
Shocker fans and even some Shocker players will be the first to admit they don't know a whole lot about Greg Marshall.
The Shockers have their new coach, and while most of Wichita is wondering, who is this guy?
The word coming early today that Greg Marshall would be the next Shocker head basketball coach, and he is a good one. 9 years at Winthrop, 7 NCAA tournaments, and one of the best resumes around.
While Greg Marshall was not yet a household name in Wichita, he owned the Winthrop fan base. But he did keep his options open, even agreeing to become the head coach at the College of Charleston in 2006, being formally introduced as their new head coach.
Thank you very much.
But immediately changing course and going back to Winthrop for his final March Madness run with the Eagles.
All right, if you're not nervous this time of year, that means your season is over. I haven't slept, I haven't eaten for several days. So the bottom line is that's normal.
The following year, the right fit for Marshall and his family presented itself.
I couldn't be happier and more excited to announce today to you our new head men's basketball coach, Greg Marshall, from Winthrop University.
Taking over a team in an emotional transition from the Turgeon era.
It's like parents that are getting divorced.
The Marshall era began in 2007, and the rest, as they say, is history. Banners have gone up, nets have come down. All the while, Marshall maintaining a nationally misunderstood loyalty to Wichita.
I'm not a jumper. I'm very pleased to be the coach at Wichita State, content, happy, and you can't buy happy.
And while you can't buy happy, the Shockers have played angry until the final goal is fulfilled. As the future will look back on Greg Marshall, it will do so in the manner we look at the first documentations of Shocker success. And it will realize this is the stuff of legends.
Yeah, now, you know, Greg Marshall's career has been fantastic, but two of the most memorable seasons for the Shockers are probably the Final Four year and the year they ran their record up to an amazing 35-0. Now, the two teams that put an end to those seasons, Kentucky and Louisville, they're both here in Indianapolis. They're not playing each other just yet, but if Wichita State can take care of Dayton and Kentucky takes care of business as well, they could meet, or they would meet, in the round of 32. Let's go back to the studio. This is Shane Ewing for Cake News.
All right, great rolling back the clock and seeing the old video, wasn't it? Well, the big question, will the Shockers win their first round matchup with Dayton?
Cake News is running Facebook Live polls for each one of the Kansas teams in the tournament, asking you who you think will move on. Just go to our Facebook page and vote. The Kansas State Wildcats had a little bit tougher path to the tournament than their two Kansas counterparts.
That's right, a play-in game with Wake Forest to punch their ticket to the big dance. We head back now to Cake Sports' Shane Ewing. He's live in Indianapolis with more on the Cats.
Yeah, guys, the Wildcats are looking at their matchup with Cincinnati like they really have looked at a lot of games in the Big 12 this year. They're the underdog, and they're fine with that. Don't mess with the Wildcats, though, and don't sleep on them for sure. The odds may be against them at first glance, but every year since the inception of the first four in Dayton, which is where the Wildcats were, an 11 seed has pulled the upset and advanced into the weekend. So why not the Cats this year? Who said?
I mean, that's what we're playing off of right now, and we're talking to them about it. And, you know, like we said, they watch TV. I tell them not to, but they watch it, and no one had us in the bracket moving on, so now we moved on. I'm sure no one will have us beating Cincinnati, and then, we just got to worry about what we can control, getting prepared.
Now the Cats are coming off a 95-point performance with that offense. That was just 1 point shy of a season high for K-State. So now they're getting ready for Cincinnati, a tip-off at 6:15 tomorrow night. Again, we're going to go back to you guys with more Road to the Championship right after the break.
The Kansas Jayhawks will begin their tournament play in Tulsa tomorrow night against the University of California, Davis.
KAKE's Austin Cliff joins us live now from Tulsa.
Yeah, Deb, Jim, it's been quite a ride for the Jayhawks so far this season. Plenty of ups and downs, but they've made it here to Tulsa, the #1 seed in the Midwest. Let's take a look back at the Jayhawks season so far.
After a tough overtime loss to Indiana and Hawaii to start the season, the Jayhawks would go on to win the next 18 straight games, including the very next one over Duke in Madison Square Garden. KU led all season by their dominant front court in senior Frank Mason and freshman phenom Josh Jackson, the two averaging double-digit scoring all season and earning accolades all along the way, including several Big 12 freshmen and Player of the Week nod for Jackson, all culminating in a 13th straight Big 12 regular season title. They would suffer their first home loss in several years to Iowa State late in the season and would undergo several off-the-court issues throughout the year, one such incident leaving Josh Jackson suspended for the first game of the Big 12 tournament, likely costing them a run for the Big 12 tournament title. Even with the early exit from the Big 12 tourney, the Jayhawks still did enough through the season to earn themselves a #1 seed in the Midwest region, bringing them here to Tulsa, where Jackson will be back on the court.
Plenty more from Kansas coming up tonight at 10. We will be right back.
This time next year, Wichita will be hosting a March Madness event of its own.
KAKE's Chris Frank has more on how the city leaders are making sure they're prepared.
About a year from now, we'll be opening the doors for our first tournament here.
One of the goals local leaders had in pushing for a new downtown arena was to host NCAA basketball tournament games again. The last time Wichita hosted a tourney round was in 1994 at the old Kansas Coliseum, when future KSU coach Tom Asbury, then Coach Pepperdine, John Calipari coached UMass, and the Fab Four played for Michigan, all those in Wichita. But next year, it'll be Wichita's time again with the games at Intrust Bank Arena.
We've been preparing really since the day we were awarded the bid.
The arena's assistant general manager, Chris Kibler, will be taking other arena personnel to Tulsa later this week to watch that city host its round of games, just like they did last year in Oklahoma City.
See the behind the scenes, how does it work? What's the layout work? What's the traffic flow look like? What's the parking? What do the hotels do? What does Fan Fest look like?
Of course, the NCAA doesn't leave anything up to chance, even providing an operations manual so that the arena knows how to host an NCAA tournament.
They have very strict guidelines to make sure that every site appears to be the same.
The NCAA wants fans to have a good experience, and Kibler says that's important to Wichita also. So Kibler says there is some work to be done to the arena to make it tournament ready. This storage area, for example, will be remodeled to become the event media workroom. But a larger need, she says, is getting commission approval to remodel entrance C on the north with more doors and a stairwell, since she says so many visitors will walk in from Old Town for the games.
It can already be paid for.
With that in mind, Kibler confidently says,
we are ready.
In downtown Wichita, Chris Frank, KAKE News.
I'm looking forward to that. We'll be right back.
And before we go, here are the tentative game times for tomorrow. The Kansas Jayhawks will take on UC Davis a little bit before 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
The Wildcats game with Cincinnati is set to start a little after 6 o'clock, and the Shockers will tip off against Dayton sometime around 6:30.
Thank you so much for watching. That's going to do it for our special show, Road to the Championship.
That's right. More tournament news tonight on Cake News at 10 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Good night.
For breaking news and your most accurate local forecast, Cake News is on air, online, and on your mobile. Cake News on your side.